What would you do if you had a toxic mother-in-law who tried to kick you out of the house that you were paying for, but she had no idea that you were the one paying because your husband lied about it and said that he was the breadwinner? So you know what? You leave, and then she's begging you to come back, and you tell her this.
One thing that took me a long time to learn is that people who do not like you or want you around them are likely never going to like you, no matter what you do for them. My mother-in-law always is like this, no matter how nicely I treated her. She would always act like someone who's possessed with an evil spirit. I met my husband when I was going through a very tough season of my life. I'd lost my father, my only real family, to cancer, after several years of fighting for his life, so you can imagine what I was going through. When my husband Jude came into my life, he literally turned things around for me. Throughout the rough season, he stood by me, never gave me a reason to doubt his love, and he was literally my knight in shiny armor. The one real friend that I had. Fast forward to about a year after I lost my father. Jude proposed and I said yes, and as of that time, I was living in a different city and I never had the opportunity to meet his mom. But I'd heard so much about her because Jude talked about her all the time. And, fast forward to about a year now. And the first day Jude organized a dinner with me and his mom. I could tell from her fake smiles that she did not like me. The signs were as clear as water. Although she tried to hide it, it was very evident that I was not the daughter-in-law that she had envisioned. For a bit of context, when Jude and I started to date, he had a very good paying job. He was literally earning 5 figures a month, and he was primarily the one who took care of his mother and her needs. Jude's older siblings were not doing as well financially as Jude was, so he was the one who took full responsibility for his mom. The next time I met my mother-in-law was on her 50th birthday. Jude and his siblings had organized a surprise party for her. I was the mastermind behind it. I had booked the hall and did every other thing because I wanted my mother-in-law to have a great time, but on that day, she embarrassed me greatly. When it was time to take a family photo, the photographer told all the friends and family members to gather around her, and I did. At first, I didn't want to, but Jude pulled me to stand beside him just like his siblings were standing with their spouses. Immediately, my mother-in-law realized that I was featured in the picture, and she told the photographer to wait. She asked why was I in the picture. Guys, that was one of the most embarrassing experiences that I've ever had. I still can't even forget that day. When my mother-in-law asked that question, Jude and his siblings were so mad at her, but she didn't care. She told me to face that I was neither her family nor friend, so I had no grounds to be in the picture. Because of that, I ended up leaving the party earlier than I planned. It was on that day that I concluded that my mother-in-law simply did not like me, and she was sorry about it. Even though Jude tried to make up a couple excuses for her actions, deep down he just knew that his mother did not like me. And the reason she acted that way towards me was because she wanted Jude to call off the engagement and marry somebody more befitting of his status. Seeing that my mother-in-law didn't like me, I didn't even bother trying to lick her butt, because I literally grew up with a stepmom who treated me as garbage, no matter what I did to impress her, so I wasn't ready to just go down that path again. As a result, I did all that I could to stay away from her. If Jude and the siblings were having a family function at her house, I would either stay back or mind my own business throughout my stay there. Things continued this way, even until Jude and I got married. Before Jude and I tied the knot, my mother-in-law tried to postpone our wedding several times. The first time, she purposely ate something she was allergic to just a few days before the wedding, so it would not take place. She did that because she knew Jude would not carry on with the wedding without his parent, and her plan worked. The second time, she pretended to be sick. And when Jude found out that she was faking her illness days to the wedding again, he told her that if she pulled another stupid stunt, the wedding would carry on with or without her. She stopped. See, on our wedding day, I deliberately refused to take a picture with her because I didn't want her to ruin my big day. And when she noticed that I had avoided her, she did something very embarrassing. While giving a toast during our reception, My mother-in-law said that her home has always been open for Jude to come over and eat, because she knew that he was marrying a horrible cook, and that she did not want her little boy to be tormented with bad food. Guys, when she said that, I was so mad, I nearly exploded from anger. When she openly mocked my cooking and insinuated that I was a bad cook, I nearly got up to an empty glass of wine on her face. But I had to hold myself back because I didn't want to create a scene or reduce myself to her level of stupidity. As you can predict, with the way things went between us, my relationship with my mother-in-law continued to worsen as the years rolled by. I never went to her house, not even for her birthdays or any function at all, because I could not stand to see her face. The same applied to my house. On the days my mother-in-law was visiting Jude, I made sure I wasn't at home. In fact, I think her visiting us was rare, because she almost never came to our home. Whenever Jude wanted to see her, he would go to her place, and they would just, do their thing. I just could not stand, not me and her in the same spot. I even remember one time when Jude was on the phone with his mom. She asked him when we were going to give her grandchildren. When Jude did not answer, she went ahead to ask if I was barren, because she had been suspecting that I could not have children. Okay, mind you, we were only married for 3 years, and Jude and I had been trying to get pregnant, but it wasn't working. Honestly, if I say that I remember snatching the phone from Jude and yelling at my mother-in-law, I would be lying. I can't even explain how it happened. One minute I was folding the laundry, and the next thing I was just warning her to keep her nose out of family's business. Even Jude could not say a thing. He knew that his mother was wrong to call me barren or even insinuate that I was. I think that was the last time Jude took her call in my presence. Mommy Dearest was so hurt that she warned Jude not to take her calls in my presence. Now, the main reason I'm sharing this story is because of something that happened recently. I think 3 days ago, my mother-in-law called Jude to inform him that she was very sick, and she wanted to move in with us. Well, since I've known Jude, I know that he always has a soft spot when it comes to his mom, and he's always ready to do whatever it takes to please her or make her life a bit more comfortable. When Jude told me that his mother wanted to move in with us temporarily, I kicked against the idea immediately. It's not like I was selfish or something, but I didn't want that woman under my roof. I didn't want to walk on eggshells in my house, and I could not even imagine living in the same space with her. Unfortunately, Jude had failed to see things from my perspective, and he's calling me childish and selfish for refusing to let his mom move in with us temporarily. At first, I suggested that we hire a live-in nurse to stay with her and look after her until she's well again, but Jude refused. He said it would be better if his mom just moved in with us, so we can look after her since we both live in the same state. The most annoying part is that some days ago, Jude claimed that he was going to visit his mom, and he was going to see how she was doing. But guess what? He brought her to our home without telling me. And I was just shocked to see my mother-in-law in the flesh. Some of her belongings when I returned there were sitting there. I'll be honest, I felt very betrayed and disappointed in Jude. As a result, we had a terrible fight that night. The worst part was that when I did return home, oh man, it was getting even worse. And my mother-in-law, who claimed she was sick, was cooking in my kitchen while humming some stupid song. So far, it's been 4 days since my mother-in-law moved in with us, and it's killing it. Seeing her face every morning and when I return from work just makes me sick to my stomach. Also, there's this smirk that she has on her face whenever she sees me. It makes me want to smack her stupid face with a frying pan. Meanwhile, can you all believe that my mother-in-law has not said a single word to me since she moved in? The only person she talks to is Jude, and she makes it so obvious. If she's not talking to Jude, then she's either on the phone with her children or watching some dumb YouTube video without an earpiece, just reading the subtitles. Guys, I've really tried to put up with her. Believe me, I have. The other night she did something that really made me mad. I made dinner for Jude, just for me and him. I left the kitchen just to go and shower before eating, and when I returned to the kitchen to serve Jude and myself, I was shocked to find my freshly cooked pot of food in the sink, full of water. It turned out that my mother-in-law deliberately put the food in the sink and opened up the tap in it, claiming that the aroma of the food was making her sick. Can you believe such nonsense? You know, that night I was so mad that I nearly kicked her out of the house, but Jude intervened and begged me on her behalf. The thing is, ever since my mother-in-law moved in with us, me and Jude's relationship has been sour. We're either always yelling at one another, arguing about something that's to do with his mom, or even talking to ourselves. The craziest part is Jude thinks that I'm making a mountain out of a molehill with the whole issue. For a while now, I've been feeling guilty, especially with Jude, and I'm just always fighting about his mom. Even though a part of me doesn't want her in my house, a part of me feels horrible about the way things have been going between Jude and me. So I'm asking here, am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sick mother move in with us? It's just that we never have a good relationship and living with her seemed a bit off. I don't want to ruin my relationship with Jude, and I badly want us to go back to the happy couple we used to be. I really look forward to your suggestions and feedback. I'll be reading everything in the comment section, so thank you, and goodbye. Comment number 1. Hey, OP, I don't understand why you're such an a-hole. Girl, you have absolutely no reason to feel terrible. If things are going badly between you and Jude, well, that's because he caused it. I don't understand why he would bring his mother, whom you don't even have a good relationship with, into the house without the both of you agreeing to it. You're even nice. If it were me, I would have left the house for them. Please stop feeling bad, OP. You did what anyone would have done. No one wants their enemy under their roof. Even animals are territorial, and they keep unwanted animals away from it. So you're not selfish in that. You're not making a mountain out of a molehill. You're handling things the way they should have been. Do not let Jude or your mother-in-law make you feel like you have no say in your own home. Do not. Wishing you all the best, OP. Comment number 2 says, hey, OP, you're not just an a-hole, but you're a selfish a-hole. Just because you have issues with your mother-in-law, or I should say had issues with her, is that enough reason to keep her out of her son's home? You women keep forgetting that your mother-in-law was already in your husband's house before you came into the picture. So why would you want him to not take in his sick mom? If the tables were turned, would you neglect your sick mother just because she has issues with your hubby? I bet not. Your husband already explained that your mother-in-law would only be with you guys temporarily, so what's the big deal? As far as the house belongs to you and your husband, he has the right to bring his mother, whether you approve it or not. The sooner you understand that, the better for you, so get that, girlfriend. Update number 1. Hey guys, thank you so much for your comments and suggestions. I do appreciate it. I apologize for taking a week to make this update. I was very busy with a business trip and barely had time for social. I've read all your comments, the good, the bad, the ugly, and all I can say is thank you for your opinion. Although I would really love to counter most of the nasty things some people have commented on. At this point, I don't have the energy. I'm currently trying to find a new apartment because my dearest mother-in-law decides to overstep her boundary. So, yesterday, I returned from a business trip that I mentioned earlier, only to realize that my mother-in-law had changed the keys to my home. Like, she literally went and changed the whole keys and I couldn't get in. Oh, man. At first, when I noticed that the key had been changed, I called Jude to find out why he changed the locks without my knowledge, but all my calls went to voicemail because Jude was in an important meeting and couldn't take the call. The whole time I was just waiting outside. I didn't know that my mother-in-law was inside. It wasn't until I turned the back of the house on that I realized that she was in the kitchen, making lunch for herself while I was outside there screaming my lungs out. Guys, you have no idea how mad I was to see my mother-in-law through the kitchen window, acting all calm and collect, while humming some song. I hate it here. When I yelled at her to come and open the front door, she tells me that I no longer have access to her son's house. and she had changed the keys because of me. In addition to that, she tells me to leave and never show my face here again. Believe me, when she said that, I burst into laughter because I thought that she was joking, but it turns out she was serious. She was actually the one who called a locksmith to come over and change the lock. Oh my goodness, I was starting to boil. I was exhausted from sitting in a plane for almost 9 hours. I anticipated coming home, taking a nice shower, and hours of beauty sleep. But because of her, I had to sleep at a hotel that night. The worst part was that I could not reach her son, and at that point there was nothing that I could do because my monster-in-law did not let me have access to my home. Guys, I couldn't even take a fresh cloth from my house. Right now, I'm still at the hotel and I'm still very angry. Jude has been trying to reach me since yesterday and he has sent several voicemails, but I'm also mad at him because everything that's happened is, well, partially his fault. I was out of the house for a week. So how did this mom of his change the house key without his knowledge? I still don't believe that he had no idea. Imagine returning home to your house after a very long, exhausting trip, but you can't even take your clothing off because someone locked you out of your house and made you look stupid. At this point, I think I've had enough. If Jude cannot do something about his mother, then they can enjoy each other's company for as long as they want. I cannot be working my butt off to provide for everyone, yet I can't even gain access to my house or have a peace of my mind at my own home. I have no idea how long I'll be staying here, but once I find a decent apartment, I'll just move in, so all the unnecessary drama can end. That's all for now, guys. I'll make another update in just a bit. Update number 2. Hey, guys, thank you so much for your kind comments and words of encouragement. So, from my last update, some of you were asking if I'm really going to leave my house for my mother-in-law. Well, the answer is, yes. Yes, I am. Let me get into that. From the very beginning, I've not always been the person who puts up with other people's nasty attitudes. Ugh. I mentioned something in my story that I grew up with a very toxic stepmother whom I tried my best to please, but no matter what I did, she would still not like me. I learned from a very young age that people who do not like you never will, even if you take a bullet for them. So I see no reason why I should condone my mother-in-law's nasty attitude, or even try to live with her. No, I can't do it. Instead, I'll return the same energy that she gives to me in the exact time measure. So a grain for a grain. Whatever that means. So, if Jude isn't making things right like he should, then we'll continue to live the ruins that he created. It just hurts me that things have to turn out like this. 2 days ago, I finally took Jude's call because he would not stop calling or sending voicemails. And he still claims that he had no idea his mother had changed the locks. And after speaking directly to him, for minutes I believed him. The day before I returned from the trip, Jude had traveled to another state for a job interview, and since it was quite a distance, he had to be in the city a day before his job interview. I'm guessing my mother-in-law must have called a locksmith the same day that Jude left. The audacity. Speaking of my mother-in-law, I woke up in this morning and I had 4 missed calls from her. I honestly don't know why she called, and to be honest, I don't want to find out. Because I have a feeling that she wants to mock me, and I'm in no mood to get angry. Well, even though Jude claims that he doesn't know anything about his mother changing the locks, that doesn't change anything. He enabled her to do all those things, and as long as he continues to do that, I'm not going anywhere near that house. I'm not gonna lie, I've had more peace and quiet in this hotel room than I did back at home. The only thing that makes me mad right now is that my brother-in-law and sister-in-law have been blowing up my phone for days now. The day June returned home to see his mother had changed the locks, my sister-in-law gave me 10 missed calls. When I did not take her phone call, she texted me on Instagram, said something about me being a horrible person and I'm trying to tear her family apart. You know, I didn't even bother reading her the whole message till the end because I didn't want to get angry. These days, it really seems like the tiniest things annoy me, so I'm really trying to avoid it. As if all of that was not enough, my brother-in-law sends a Facebook message that starts with, "Ugh, you're such an a-hole. but I haven't opened it and will not open it at all. I don't know what Jude said to his mom that would make my sister-in-law talk to me like that, but I honestly don't care. I try not to mention my mother-in-law whenever I talk with Jude, and he does the same thing to me. I don't really have anything else to say now, so see you in the next updates. Final update. Hey everybody, I sincerely want to apologize for taking another long week to make this update. A couple of things happened in the last week, and it was a lot for me to handle, so I didn't really have the time to come here and tell you all about it. Now, can you guys remember when I mentioned in my last update that my mother-in-law had been calling me? Well, guess what? She wasn't actually calling to mock me, like I thought. It was actually more than that. She had found out a very unsettling truth. She thought that she could persuade me to come back home, so who's ready for the tea? Before I tell you what happened, I'd like to mention something important. About a year and some months ago, Jude was laid off at work. The truth is, it happened suddenly and none of us were prepared for it. His former company claimed that they were struggling financially, so they had to lay off some staff, and unfortunately Jude was one of those people. So when this happened, Jude refused to tell his family about it. Remember, I said that he was the major person who was taking care of his mom and her needs. By that, I mean that he was paying her house, all the rent, and footing her gas, utility bills, her groceries, and even giving her some money every month for a little spending. Yeah, he was doing all that alone. When he lost his job, probably he didn't want his mom to be worried or his siblings to lose respect for him, what they had, so he begged to keep it a secret. I did. The good thing was, as of that time, I was earning more than enough to pay all our bills and take care of the two of us. In order to cover up for his joblessness, Jude begged me to lend him some money so he could continue doing the things that he used to do with his mom, even though it was not an idea that I liked. I agreed just to do a certain amount of lending every single month, but on the condition that he would pay back every single penny once he gets a job. Unfortunately, since Jude was used to receiving a certain pay range, he couldn't find a good paying job for more than a year. Most of the job he saw only offered peanuts, and refused to do such. In that 1 year and a few months, I single-handedly paid our house rent and did the other things without Jude's family even knowing. Now, when Jude returned from his job interview and he learned that his mother had told me to leave, he freaked out and told his mom the truth. Believe me, all those years his mom believed I was mooching off her son, so you could imagine how shocked she was to find out that I was the breadwinner, baby, which now explains the reason she's been calling. So, sometime last week she calls again, and when I pick up her call, she began to apologize for all her actions and how she treated me. Guys, for the very first time in my life, I heard my high and mighty mother-in-law sound remorseful and bow down, and it sounded pretty convincing. Then after she was done with her obviously fake apology, she begged me to come back home because she was starving. It turned out that they had finished the groceries and Jude did not even have $1 to get more. Also, after mother-in-law begged me, Jude also begged me to return home because he missed me. Long story short, I told Jude that the only way I would return home was if his mom left. Honestly, when I said it, I didn't think Jude would tell his mom to leave. I only said it as an ultimatum, just an excuse to not go back home and to him and his mom. But guess what? That same day, Jude tells his mom to leave, and she did. According to him, they had a really nasty fight before she left, and right now, I'm back at my house, and my monster-in-law's no longer here to make my life miserable. Jude has apologized for his actions, and he's promised to never do this again. As for mother-in-law, I've stopped lending Jude money for his mom, and the last time I heard she's now looking for a job because she's now responsible for her own money. To even think that she called me again a few days ago just to beg me to forgive her, but I gave her a piece of my mind and blocked her. I know this also sounds a bit extreme, but I've cut off my mother-in-law and will not have anything to do with her anymore. I'm doing this for my own peace and sanity, and I don't care what anyone says. Thank you so much for everyone for your contributions. I do sincerely appreciate it. Comment number 1. Hey OP, You handled the situation like a real, top-of-the-line person. I'm so proud of you. Honestly, giving your husband a tight spot was just the beginning and the best thing to do. I can't imagine you moving out of your own house because your mother-in-law. That can never be me. It's really funny how she only called you when she was starving. I mean, imagine if you weren't the breadwinner in the house, and it would be a different situation. It would have been scary. Anyways, I'm glad that she's out of your hair. Trust me, cutting her off is not extreme. It's the best thing to do. If she could change the locks on your own home and tell you to never show your face again, then she should not be in your life for any reason. Sending you virtual hugs, mother-in-law, sayonara. Comment number 2 has a different tone of voice. Hey OP, I understand that your mother-in-law wronged you by changing the keys of your own home, but don't you think you went too far by telling Jude to get rid of her? For crying out loud, she was sick, and she only moved in with you guys so she could look after her and get some care. You should have just forgiven her for her actions and moved back into your own home. To be frank, you're the a-hole for making your husband choose between you and his mom and kick her out. I'm a mother of 2 men, and if they ever kick me out of their house because my daughter-in-law told them to, I would be livid. I think your mother-in-law should be glad that you cut her off, because you being out of her life, that's a blessing. I really hope your husband realizes the mistake he made before it's too late. Ew.